let's try this again. Today I was in Home Depot on Portage Street, right off the strip in North Canton. Today is 12/27/21 at 4:55. I clock out. I go in and some guy looks over at me and says, "Call security. The weirdo's here." I'm not a weirdo. Okay? I just keep walking. Okay? I go to get keys made. Okay? And then we go back to the electrical department in the back, and we come back, and some little kid comes in with some guy. She's like, "It's sick. They raped her." He said, "I know. I told these people I didn't want to go out with her, and I'm not interested in stop saying stuff to her." Okay? Some idiot was running around telling everybody he wanted to go out with me. All right? And it was stupid. No, why would you don't want to go out with somebody when you're sitting back letting them get drugged, framed, chipped, beat, raped, tortured? You don't want to go out with them. You were helping trying to murder them. I was so angry. Having a child make fun of me for being raped in public again. I ignored them. Okay? Now, I don't know what happened with Will. I had so much horror come at me at one time. I forgot to tell him the idiot told paper the night before. I had that girl pretend she was me, cost me that job. Okay? Pretended to be me, cost me a job. Then where I did, that one girl had me on speaker, and she was cleaning up, watching this kid's, this lady's kid for $10 an hour, and I'm thinking, what do you do with $5,000 to $6,000 disappears from a safe? You have nothing to explain where it went. You wouldn't give it back. That's a lot of money. And witnesses of knowing, and the police heard them say that they knew they had the money disappear. Okay? Well, I thought he cheated and paid off a pregnancy. I missed that one. And then, the church has taken up $25,000 to hire to have me murdered. It was because I got one of the year some guy's kid died. It had nothing to do with his kid's death. His father-in-law ran a stop sign. Late for a church baseball game. My whole family and myself are 30 miles away. And I just happened to get well later that year. And then it took me months later. That guy lost it screaming at that funeral. And then even 8 years later, got on a pulpit blasting God how much he hated him for taking the thing I love the most. He's a millionaire. He's just not right. And talk about misdirected anger. Okay. And then that minister telling everybody I was faking I was sick. And I have documents I was sick. And I have scars all over my stomach and back. It's just stupid. But he manipulates people. Okay? Well, I'm horrified because that guy's crazy. And And then Katie leaving threats in the mall that her church had a permanent plan to do away with me. That's this. Um, and Dave admits of knowing that my phone. And then him holding me down. I love you, but I love her more. I'm so sorry, Karen. You have to die for her. I hired a man to slit your throat, stab you in the heart. You'll bleed out, Karen. But if you run for it, I got a man to put a bullet in you. It was no vivid dream. It was 30 minutes holding me down. And he was even turning him on. It was sick. I was afraid if I moved, he'd kill me with his own bare hands. Okay. And then where I went to Giant Eagle, the guy threatening to come up behind me. I'd stab you right here. And now if it wasn't for that security guard, and I make a beeline for that bank. And he walks out around me. And then that blonde lady from Pizza Hut, I get paid to watch her. And the banker's yelling at her, stay out of it. And you can see him walk out around me from Huntington Bank. They probably still have the video because they have to keep it for 5 years. Um, and then when I got enough courage to even leave the house after that, the African American girl spit in my face and her and her white boyfriend being cruel to me. And then um, the guy was shaming me, okay? And looking at me like a dead animal. They play with you. Realizing the attempted kidnapping, the one guy with black hair, it's the same guy. And then the attempted carjacking, same guy. He made a mistake again with the Perry police. He said they knew where the security system was, and the officer got in his face. And then the following rounding was Harold Strange's great niece's Facebook friend. I didn't know I had that a 25 grand hit on my life. Okay. And then it all, that happened in Perry, and then uh, the attempted kidnapping, attempted carjacking, Perry and Maslin, the attempted break-in, they're still screaming outside here. All night, all day. Hate crime, ungodly levels. And then everything stopped while I fixed up our new home. We got the septic tank, and I had to break out like a half acre, 2 or 3, from the back of the house to the front, 2 or 3 car widths wide, and move all the turnover rock where they dug it out to the road. Um, Doing all kinds of flower beds, and then even around the septic tank and all the pine bushes along the side of the house. And Josh setting up the security cameras on the outside only by the front door, side yard, and back door. Doing the tile work for the, Josh did the tile work, uh, and for the new wood burner. He sold my things for the wood burner. Um, let's see, and then we had to replace faucets till we got the water treatment system and the lights in the garage. And I even set up his tools. I worked like hell on that place. Trying to make her a beautiful, beautiful new retirement home that I picked out. Of all things, I picked it out. Um, it just, it's sick on satanic levels. I had bruises before I called the FBI, and I thought it was from moving wood and working. But it wasn't, and it came out. And then, right when it started again, that blonde, I don't know who did it, but some girl cost me my job. The district manager sent me to another store and she acted like she was me. Um, and then threatening to knife me in Giant Eagle. And the blonde lady from Pizza Hut getting paid to watch me. Um, And then the What a Shame and Walmart, and then threats in the mall. Their church had a permanent plan to do away with me. And then overhearing that that man's involved, that his kid died. It's 18 years ago, too. That's how sick all this is. And I had nothing to do with that death. I just got well the year his kid died. It's sick. I don't even care. That minister lied to him and said, oh, she's faking she's sick and she's faking she got well, and I got scars all over me. It's that sick. And I have medical proof. Okay. Let's see. And then Dave, how he hired a man to kill me. And realizing he made it look random attempts before. It's sick. It's on satanic levels. And time I called the hotline. It took 2 days for Will to call back. The third day, I got up and mowed the lawn. I was baby girl for days, crying. My marriage of 33 years is over. Realized he had been trying to kill me. He just saw the horror hitting me at once of these people threatening my life and thinking that he was behind the whole thing, where I loved him with all my heart and with every breath I took. He was literally trying to kill me. He made love to me all the time. He bought me big jewelry, took me out to eat. You just never made him mad or he'd hurt you. And I learned that a long time ago. You don't ever make him mad. I found out later on that where Dave said his girlfriend was rich and powerful and her family owned the police, I wouldn't be able to withstand. He was dating Judge Pete's daughter from Ravenna, and the undercover police in the courthouse were helping out illegal surveillance. The law states that you can only be police and hire in a significant investigation like drugs, murder, espionage, treason, something like that. You can't just set up cameras and watch someone. There's a right to privacy. There cannot be a conflict of interest. They would have excused themselves. Let's see, or it's thrown out. And everything gets thrown out. No bathroom, no bedrooms, no nudes, and they can't share. Total. It's like everything that is wrong and illegal. I spend a lot of time on Google. It saves me from going to the library. Look up law books. Okay. Judge Timothy couldn't even be over my divorce for friends and family. They could never say anything to me in my life. They had people run by, Kurt's got a court order. I don't know Kurt. We're going to put it this way. No officer, no agent, no man, no lady, nobody came talk to me. No Steve, no Eric, no Kurt, no Chris, no Mark. No one ever came talk to me about anything dirty. I called the hotline 2 days for Will to call me back, and I've been crying like a baby girl because everything's collapsing on top of me. Third day, I got up and mowed the lawn. I called Sarah because she had heard them that they had a permanent plan to do away with me, and she was scared for me. So I called her and asked her if I called someone, would she witness? And she said yes. So I bought her a card and for Get Mary, put a little tiny gift card in it and Will's number, and we took it to Kate's Jewelry in Belden. I gave it to her manager. Her manager put it in her locker. We go on to Apostolic Church of Barberton. Paul Paymer gets into his face. My God, I had an FBI agent in my office screaming at him in that giant vestibule. He's the guy, he looks just like Judge Timothy Ludick from Ravenna Courthouse. He could be his kid. It's that close. He has black hair, dark eyes, black glasses, 5'9", white. It looks like about my kid's size. He was sitting down. Okay. The next morning, I call I get myself together enough to call Will, and I'm doing the kind of thing. Yeah, I mean hysterical, rivers of tears, rivers of tears. And I learned in divorce care, when you get overwhelmed, you get like foggy spells. You go like this because it's too much in your face at one time. And it's too much. And it's just your body of, I think I even forgot to tell him about the guy tried to knife me in Giant Eagle. Um, I did do the what a shame, but there was so much, and he was talking, and I was talking, and I was telling him about Sarah, and Sarah was ready to talk to him, and that was September 27th, 18. And then the next day, on the 28th, that's when the men showed up. And then all the people followed me. There was no case before that. Nobody ever talked to me. They can't just go in and set up cameras because Dave fucks a judgy daughter. Matter of fact, they couldn't even work the case whatsoever. They had to excuse themselves from everything. Everything. And you know what? Something. My friend Walter, he works at the prosecutor's office. He said that he had spoke to the FBI on my behalf. He said that it wasn't them that chipped me. They cannot confirm or deny who did it, but it wasn't them. But you know what? They need to find out because they're blaming the FBI for all this. All this. They're blaming the FBI. They're blaming the FBI for everything. Some guys were walking around and said the case is called Karen's Will. And they'll say agency. Well, I thought it was the FBI. I mean, I talked to Will. Karen's Will, and that's what they were talking about. And here it wasn't the FBI. Now, when I talked to Will, I told him I was scared. He offered me this big deal. That's one thing they do for all informants. You can't be legally charged for anything again. It's part of witnessing on somebody worse, and I have one traffic ticket from 89. Little notary, nothing. I'm squeaky clean. Some of the men that watched me, gave Karen no wrongdoing in life because she wouldn't abuse it, okay? And they'd mock me in Walmart. You can see them by the register mocking me, big guys. But yeah, they can't set up tiny cameras and watch you. And they definitely can't give it to an attorney. An attorney can only tape you out in public. It's the law. I didn't have cameras on the inside of my house, and illegal surveillance is not admissible. Okay? This just comes down to crime after crime after crime. This is not funny. They're having a real life Purge movie here. And what makes me sick, and absolutely sick, if I would have remembered to tell Will in my crying horror, he would have never asked me to stay quiet because I was offered a life of peace, accused of no wrongdoing, nothing illegally stated, dated against you again. No man will ever touch you. And only for you would we wipe it out when it's over, as if it never happened. And you cannot be, and we'll always pull it back to the traffic ticket. And only for you will we do this for. You can't be legally charged for anything. Okay? And he asked me to stay quiet just while they investigate. Well, the staying quiet, they already told Dave and that idiot that went to Paymer. Paymer got into his face. My God, I had an FBI agent in my office. He's right there. Well, Dave and I got in a big fight in the truck. You called the FBI on me? I'm like, what did you expect me to do? And it just, oh my God, it was insane. Everything was upside down before it started. They had no right, like the officer in Louisville, they had no right in your home. No right whatsoever in your home. None. And we can't look, we can't listen, we can't do anything. Absolutely none. So nothing before September 28th when Will activated those men to follow me. Now, I did call Will back within 10 days of I seen the guy. And he took off through his side woods. And let's see, I caught him on the phone. Dixie and the baby were next, and they had a list of people. Now I called down and I talked to his secretary. Those are the last 2 times when he had a list, and I seen the guy, and she said, "Well, he's got a list." He said, "I'm still working on it." And he yelled it out across the room. Okay, I called the cam branch. Last time I talked to him, as far as getting a hold of him to help. And now, Walter is a prosecutor. He did talk to an FBI agent lately. He said that it was not them that chipped me. 12/21/18, stabbed in the neck at the refrigerator, abducted. I have a dent in the back of my skull that big. I woke up with hair missing, migraine. It's a simple surgery to do neurochips. They remove your skull, they lay the disc down, and it expands it out. And then they just surgically glue it back down. They did a shit-ass job. My skull's literally caved in. Now they are blaming the FBI for it. The guys walking around said the case is called Karen's Will Agency for the agency, and they talk about it even in Walmart. Okay. They come in March 13th at Altman Hospital. I'm here for Karen's will. The agency chipped her. When the nurses looked over and went, "Is that why she's there?" And the bitch gets in my face. "They didn't seem on the that's why they chipped her." And I'm like, shut up. I go in the back. Now there's people in there. People in there. Tape and audio. You can get them. Okay? And then when I first walked in, the people that were following me around for years, phones going off one by one. "You'll give me how much for a settlement? You give me how much for a settlement?" And pay people off. I'm in the back. I tell Dr. Alan Atinas, "I may have a chip." He said, "Okay." And he goes to leave, and there's a man there. Some damn bastard neurochipped her. Okay? He said he already knew. Okay? I have another man outside my room when I get back from the CT scan. And he, because they did it without dye. And he's talking about, we didn't know her ex was part of that shooting night, the gunshot night. And then a nurse walks up to my room, and you can hear her talking to someone. They're swelling around the neurochip, and they're not willing to help her. I go out to the bathroom. There's a nurse participating in this hate crime of, "Eric, I know you said blah, 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 blah," that weird Eric that's stalking me. Okay? And security calls me bad names on their crimes. I've never met Eric. He said, "Thank God I haven't met him." Massillon police are looking for stalking. That's first-degree stalking. I get mistreated there, so I go over to Mercy Medical. A lady shows up outside my room. No, and I could hear her talking to a nurse. No man was ever to touch her. That's one of the things Will said. I don't know what it is with man, but that's all what they always say. No man was ever to touch her. Nurse comes in laughing. The only thing they had you on was adjusting yourself, just wiping off water with clothes on. Rite Aid. That was Mercy Medical was March 13th also of 21. But Rite Aid, April 1st to May 10th, you didn't expose yourself. You're good. Just wipe off water running with clothes on. It's not that big a deal. Like they said at FedEx on November 27th, they walk in. Her family didn't even think anything about it. Well, of course they didn't think anything about it. You know why? Because Jen did more than a towel. And she reached down and pulled her underwear out of her cock. People adjust themselves all the time. Just wipe off water with clothes on. Didn't expose yourself. You're good. Well, March 2nd to the 3rd, my car is bugged. Um, it, you could hear them outside. Don't worry about her. They're going to put 2 clips together and make her porn. And it made my stomach bleed, the thought of it. Well, it came out that they kept saying this and that and this and that. And I'm thinking, you're weird with yourself. You're this. I'm not weird with myself. I'm like, 2 clips together porn. When would I touch myself? Shower. I go out and people are laughing at me. She figured out what they did. They put a shower scene. Okay, 2 guys walked by my house last night. We told that attorney, none of this is funny. We know you photoshopped her. Okay, December 9th, Hunger Task Force, there's a bald guy there. He helped watch me the first of the case. I don't know who he is. He just seen him around me, okay? He come out and he said, it makes my stomach turn. Seeing her in a place like this. We always knew those tapes before were them, not her, so we never said anything. I was so mad my voice was shaking inside my head. I've lived through hell. Lived through hell. What the hell happened to Will? They said he's retired. I didn't get not one of his promises. Not one. Not one. Not one. Not one. Where the hell happened to him? It's like he just didn't do anything with the case and just activated the legal departments to watch me and the state case. And these people are pretending they're FBI. Yeah, and it's that crazy. Because the FBI told Walter he's a prosecutor. It wasn't us that chipped her, and we cannot confirm or deny who did it. Like I said, it's a simple surgery. And they just cut your head and skull open, they lay the disc down, and then expand it out. They use it in Cleveland Clinic and other hospitals for paralyzed patients. They can talk through into cell phones with just thinking. They can move robotic arms. They can play video games with their mind and type with their mind. They're highly evolved. It is an illegal strategy to get the truth, and it does come with a 20-year sentence. Our government recognizes it illegal. We have the right to remain silent. Okay? You can't just stick a chip in somebody's head. Now they're blaming the FBI for it. Taping audio in front of people. Okay? They have blamed the FBI for everything. And then mocked the FBI. The too many crazy people are coming after, and it's too much for them. And they had to leave. They're like daring them to do something. They're insane. Ed is the maintenance man at my client's old apartment building on Cleveland Avenue. He had mocked me about the tapes before and talking really dirty. Okay. Well, on December 9th when I walk out, he's on the phone, he's got his head turned. Wow, those tapes before were them, not her. What's going on? It's a group of men doing as many crimes as they can to see if someone will actually stop them. Is that what's going on? Well, I didn't say anything, and then they were down there swarming that apartment building. And an older African-American man walked up and said, I found out what's going on here. None of this is funny. Okay? He said, I know. I told him those tapes before were them, not her. And someone had told me that. And that it's a bunch of men doing crimes. And there better not be a tape before September 28th. I'll tell you that much. Because the law states, and it comes down to law states, it's illegal surveillance. Somebody accuses you of something, you just come out, you ask them if they have anything to do with it. They can lie and say no, or they can just stay quiet, okay? Then they have to go to witnesses and then turn it into the prosecutor. The prosecutor decides if they want to pursue it, and then it goes to a judge. That's it. That's fucking it. Okay? The only reason why they can be in your home is drugs, murder, espionage, treason. It has to be something because we have a right to privacy. It has to be only police and hire. Attorneys can only tape you out in public. They cannot tape you in your home. It's the law states. It's a law states. So it can't be altered. It has to be police and hire, significant, like drugs, murder, espionage, treason, something so bad. It can't be bedrooms, no nudes, no conflict of interest. And they can't share. It's like everything that's wrong with it is wrong with it. And it gets thrown out. I went under Portage County Courthouse records. There's nothing filed under my name. They're lying to people. That's all they're doing is lying. Oh, Kurt had a court order. Then Kurt in jail. I've never met him. He had no right in my home, and I can sue him first and last name, just not a first. I don't know him. Somebody last year was running around. Kurt, do you think it's funny framing an innocent woman? Is Kurt one of the other little whores in the stores of Ravenna? The Lauren, the big boo girl? Or the pretty brown hair girl? Because Dave was dating them and Michelle. They're all breaking around, running around. We're going to steal everything you have in life. It's an extortion group run out of that courthouse. They had no right in my home. And they would have had to call the FBI. Some guy in a race car drove by and said those idiots would have had to call us. Yeah. Conflict of interest throws it out. On top of everything else. They can't even legally look at it till the state case starts. Now, I didn't talk to Will again. I caught Dave going through my phone. And I deleted Will trying to protect him. Because with him trying to kill me, Dixie, and the baby, and they had a list of people, I protected Will. Isn't that sad? Some guy came up to me and said, I'm tired of Karen laying her life down to save others. She needs to learn to save her own life. I'm trying. I need that chip out. Mercy Medical did a CT scan a few days later in March, and you can see the wires in the crack. It hurt like hell when that guy hit that chip. And they told me, I bet it did hurt. And they told me if they take that chip out, your brain will go back to normal. It is removable. It's an illegal strategy. And they're blaming the FBI for everything. Now, was I to know that it was Judge Pete and his little whore in the store? How would I know? And when people are running around saying the case is called Karen's Will and the agency, why wouldn't I think it was the FBI? I thought they were doing it because I thought maybe it was one of their kids' daughter. And to find out it was Judge Pete and her mother bragging, that Michelle's mother bragging Memorial Day weekend 2019 at the food counter of Walmart 62 for it's my daughter, her husband Nate. He met her in Ravenna at a store when she had a stomach spell. It's for my daughter. They did all this for her. And for who's Karen's rich boyfriend? But the state of Ohio who protects her? Where everybody kept saying Karen has a rich boyfriend. I had nobody, but I had legal departments running around helping me and the Freemasons and protecting me. And chasing people off, or I wouldn't be alive. Now, they were breaking in, stabbing me with the needles the first month. I didn't know who was doing it. One time I thought I woke up and I seen a white-haired man in my room, and my room went dark. That's not legal either. You can't break in and stab some lady in the needle in their sleep. Then they lied to people. They have sodium pentothal reports. We have truth serum. Some guy said out in the dark the other night, Chris, did no man really talk to her? No, we used truth serum instead. There's no such thing. Sodium penthol's nickname truth serum, just say yes to everything. Falsely confessed down the board. Lie like crazy. Okay? It's a lethal outlaw drug. That's spy flick movie stuff. Lethal. They don't drug anybody because of the fifth. These people are insane. And there's a real state case, and the Massillon police have it, and they watch My Daughter-in-Law Dixie. And they have all the tapes. And then these idiots, by Christmas of 18, they're in Walmart to the 1st and 19. The agents are selling the log-in for money. It's going for $25 a pop. Faith Family Church has it. There's over 3,000 of us. St. Mary's, Mancan and Canton, gas station in Hartville, gas station in Youngstown, Macedonia Fire Department. Let's see, who else? Mancan, Canton. I mean, I can keep going. Old ladies, teenagers, truck drivers. Yeah, it's our nation's disgrace of the legal system. And where Dave made a mistake and a big one, getting caught out of a bugged house by the real police. On the gunshot night that that they had killed people, and there was a police report. I did report it. Nothing happened to Dave, even though he was caught with shooters, and they could even talk to the male nurse's house next door when they try to grab me. None of this is funny. You cannot even point a gun at somebody's head and pull the trigger back. The police inside Walmart even helped out because they chased off 6 stalkers inside Walmart. And they helped out. Some tall guy, white with gray hair, came up and said, "I'm an officer. You sing tune at night, Karen." I used to lay in bed after the gunshot night, and I would try to listen to songs and try not to think. Just remember what it was like to be loved. Just remember, relax, relax. And I would try to sleep, and I would try not to think of being almost murdered. And after I was almost murdered again, that officer, I guess, would listen all night long, see if I was all right. But he didn't stop him from breaking in and stabbing me with needles. And they can't sit back because some rogue judge and the rogue undercover officers of Ravenna is going purge movie. 5 judges destroyed 41 lives. I had them raped and tried to destroy them. They got 6 to 20 years. 139 refused to excuse themselves for friends and family. It's a 10-year sentence or $1 million fine or both. You don't play with this. There's real consequences. But yeah, they've been running around blaming the FBI. And then in Mentors, they were mocking the FBI. That too many crazy people are coming at her. And it's too much for the local FBI. Ouch. And that they had to leave. They're calling, my brother-in-law, Craig M. Davis, died March 26, 1990. He worked at the Pentagon. He described himself as a private consultant for the FBI, unrestricted to war weapons. One of the guys said that he was actually CIA and didn't tell anyone. He traveled the world, and he was a consultant for the FBI. He wasn't the kind that was an investigator. He was a genius. He did computer programming and electrical engineer. He set up spyware, spy satellites, and war weapons. And he traveled the world. His father, he worked on, Craig even worked under Dick Cheney, and he came to his funeral along with CIA and FBI. They were standing room only. His father, Mel, actually even worked for the Pentagon. And just, these people are our nation's disgrace of the legal system. and a disgrace to my family's laws. And it breaks my heart that they don't take care of all this. One guy had showed up within the first 2 days. He looked at me and said, they're going after the wrong person. The government always takes care of family. What happened to Will? They said he's retired. I mean, seriously? He made me this huge deal. Life of peace, accused of no wrongdoing. No man will ever touch you. You will have a life of peace, accused of no wrongdoing. No man will ever touch you. Nothing legally stated dated against you again, and we'll always pull it back to the traffic ticket. And only for you will we do this for. Put it back as if it never happened, and you can be legally charged for nothing. I didn't get one. I had to run around with besides the police proving me innocent, because my house got bugged and my stupid ex-daughter-in-law had the kids make up some shitty mean games of pretend, and they're documenting mean games of pretend. The Massillon police watch my daughter-in-law Dixie because they have attempts with their vehicles. They watch the whole case. They could have the biggest air hug in the world, because they help watch her and they do tamper with their vehicles. And there is real cases and real state cases. Melissa was caught stating that, telling the kids what to say, and on Thanksgiving of 18, telling my other granddaughter, Flora, that they were making everything up. My real police and hire. Flora ratted them out October 23rd, 2019. Of course it never happened. No, of course it wasn't true. We made it up, laughing so hard she couldn't suck her lips in. And she's 7. At least she was back then, and she was laughing so hard she couldn't quit chuckling. The apartment building for me, second one close to the fence on 8 and 9, where they kept saying before, and then act like people, where it had black and blue marks, and they're coming in Walmart stating they were drugging me, and lying they had those fake sodium pentothal reports. Well, they kept saying before. Well, Dave made a weird comment one day, and I made a notation in my phone, and it's like he did it, didn't he? They come out laughing because they sold the login. Okay. That's so funny. She figured it out 8, 9, first thing in the morning. Finally figured it out. It was Dave that drugged her first. And one guy with a badge showed up, and they took him around the corner, said it loud enough for both parking lots to hear. Had the door open. So all these people that bought the case, the login to the case, they heard it. Okay. 8:15 at night. Did you know he fentanyl her and told her to say it? No, we just didn't know. They already knew the kids were lying. Okay, 1295 Fairlawn, middle apartment. Screamed at him. Little white lady. It's not funny the church people broke in before a doctor told her to say she's a weirdo molester. Okay. Wendy Screw, May 25th. This year we're talking about in front of my old client Jeff and a bunch of people in town calling them bastards. Well, Jeff told Jim and Brian it was too much for him and too dark for him. He heard it, and I got them taped with their permission. Last month, I took my new client into Mercy Medical, and because they sold the login, the nurses had it there. They're laughing. Boy, we know they drugged her and told her to say it before. Let's see, Plato's Closet in November. I got the time and day of girls making fun of me. They gave her those amnesia drugs she'll never remember. And then a lady comes in, mentors. I found out they made everything up. I don't want these boys to say anything to her. Okay, Huntington Bank, October 5th. Women come in behind me. I don't want Melissa getting any money out of this. She twitches when she thinks of what they did to her. That's okay. They knew they made everything up. They just didn't want anybody to help her. Tape an audio. I can keep going and going and going. It's not funny. Even one of Daniel's teachers from Perry Middle School, he's like, hi. He's such a sweetie. I miss him to death. Dave said he'd kill everything I loved in life, and they're playing Dave. So I won't let him back around. They're playing Dave. Daniel got back in the vehicle, and the teacher was laughing. Somebody said, everybody knows what's going on but her family. Okay. I can keep going on and on. I can give you the time, dates, stamps of where to find. The prosecutor said carrying your notes is as good as investigators that work for the courthouse where they go get the information. Roofies aren't funny. My neighbor Mike got roofied in a bar. He drove himself to the bank, took himself out to eat, came home, changed his shoes, sat back down in his vehicle. Didn't know how he got out of the bar. I was out driving like that and took himself out to eat. He didn't even know what he ate. They let him watch the video of him in the bar after he got roofied. He was telling everybody he was an astronaut. I said, well, if you're going to go big, you might as well go big. I was teasing him. But yeah, he was acting crazy under it. And he has no idea, no memory. That's why they call them day rape drugs. You're wide awake sleepwalking. Now, none of this is funny. I may have a septal infract in my heart, and it's documented I didn't have one. I do have a neurochip. Some idiot went to insult me at Mercy Medical Radiology. Some lady was outside, and she's like, look, we all know some ass chipped her. An Canton officer walked by me at a restaurant. His phone dinged, and he started reading off my information. I don't care who chipped me. Somebody needs to find out who it is and make them pay for it. It's called Justice for Victims of Torture and Terrorism Act. If any government official, even if it was that rogue Ravenna courthouse, had someone do it, I was out for 6 hours. Stabbed in the neck at the refrigerator, 12/21/18. There's real videos of a real attempted murder case starting September 27th, 18. The Massillon police can give it to you. They need to find out who chipped me. I'll tell you what, if you go to Walmart's tapes on 62, within 2 weeks, back by the TVs, there'll be a bunch of men with cell phones. We all can read your thoughts. We implanted a neurochip. You want a group of them that did it? They got the other group at Altman Hospital. And they are used in medical field for paralyzed patients to even speak through the phone, just think, and it comes up answers, to running computers, video games, and even moving robotic arms. They're quite advanced. It's not way out there anymore. They're very, very real, but they use them in medical fields, but it's an outlawed strategy for the truth. I want it removed, and you can't abduct somebody, stab them in the neck, and put a big dent in their skull the size of an egg, and then blame the FBI for doing it. So somebody needs to find out who did it to me, and I can tell you where to get the videos under tape and audio, and these places will still have them. And I want it removed. It's called federal law. They have to. And they have to copy. And these people act like they're going to get me in trouble. This is where it's ridiculous. No man ever came talk to me about anything dirty. Ever. Ever. You can't just have an investigation and leave someone out of it. and there would be no investigation. They caught Melissa State. I told them the kids lying. The kids stating they were lying. Oh, and on top of it, they interviewed my whole family back in 18. And they spoke highly of me. They spoke highly of me. They better almost die to save him. Karen realized I will kill everything you have in love and life. I'll tell you what, it was like over my dead body. You'll get caught. Oh, he got caught. They let him go. He beat me with internal injuries for not answering my phone. He chicken winged my arm, punched me in the stomach, knocked me into the wood railing, punched me in the stomach twice with both fists. I have permanent inflammation. I reported it. There's a tape. Police and hire. He did it. Is he in jail? No. Karen, I can't stay interested. He shoves his whole, and I'm just like, okay. And I go to cry, and then he shoves his hand up my ass and pulls out a blood vessel. And I could hardly clean up. Did they arrest him for sexual assault? No. And it would take surgery to fix it. These people are ridiculous. And they sat back and let that bastard hurt me over and over again. Come in and squeeze my face till it was black. Pop me in the ribs. Good luck finding a guy who won't hit you in the ribs. And buckle them so they're uneven. And then the gunshot night, if those people really did die, and the house caught them, they covered up a murder. That's how sick all this is. And when I tried to help the Asian lady that said something happened to her husband, they raped and tortured me and put that on the internet. Yeah, it's that sick. And then March 2nd to the 3rd, they're out there. Don't worry about her. They're going to put 2 clips together and make a porn where you just simply wipe off water running with clothes on. Not a big deal. You didn't expose yourself. You're good. March 13th, Mercy Medical, Altman Hospital. No man was ever to touch her. A nurse comes in laughing. The only thing they had on you was adjusting yourself. Just wiping off water running with clothes on. Not a big deal. And then all of a sudden, you expose yourself. You're weird with yourself. I'm like, no, I'm not. And then it's like, well, the only time you touch yourself, shower. Go outside and people are laughing. Men are laughing. She figured out what they did. That's why they're not admissible. It has to be police and hire significant, like drugs, murder, espionage, treason. So why were you in my home? Because Will hadn't activated it till the 27th. And with the conflict of interest, they couldn't even work the case. Because then they wouldn't be in Walmart. 62 dreadlocks, men, African-American men. We stayed on the gunshot night because Dave's girlfriend's prettier and the guy running it didn't blame us. Then an old white guy by gray hair with mustache mocking me too with a group of people. We have backup. And if they did, they're responsible for those men's death. Do you know if you even point a gun at someone's head, it's aggravated assault? With a deadly weapon. And I had to hide not to get murdered that night because a green laser lights crossed my eyes. I almost got shot in the head driving. And I slam, tuck, and swerve as the guys pulling the trigger back. And they break in Walmart both times. They had to leave me in high danger. And how I was almost killed. 6 stalkers chased off. Even Wood Forest knows. Oh, yeah, you're the one our ex tried to have murdered. Is he in jail? No. Everybody knows what he did. I went in Sheets the other night, and Perry walked in and said, we all know what they did to her. Everybody knows. And I'll tell you what. It's a disgrace to our legal system, and they run around. We're going to get money for everybody, right? We're going to extort money out of her, right? We're going to get her in trouble, right? We could be in your home. No, you couldn't. You know, my brother even had surveillance cameras, knew him out. And some caretaker grabbed Alan, my nephew's cell phone or remote out of his hand and got in his face, and he can't talk. He's grunting, and he got mad, and being disabled, he shoved him. That baby went to jail for 2 months. That was wrong. He should not have went to jail. That caretaker should have been fired. And if they wanted to reevaluate any kind of medication for a couple of days so he wouldn't get so angry, or counseling, it'd be one thing. But to put a severely retarded child, even though he's 30 and I call him a child, that can't hardly talk and has to wear diapers in a jail for 2 months for shoving somebody who grabbed his remote and got in their face. That's ridiculous. My brother was horrified. Uh, but they could, and he tried to show the judge, I got my surveillance camera video. I can't look at it. And he said, why? It's right here. He's like, I can prove that guy, I cited it. Was in his face, took his remote, was screaming at him till he got mad enough to shove him. He's the one that did it. And he said that he couldn't look at it. You know why? Because it wasn't police and hire, significant investigation, and it was inside a home. You have a right to privacy. Police and FBI cannot set up cameras and watch you unless it's under drugs, murder, espionage, treason. It has to be something horrible because it'll get thrown out. You cannot have conflict of interest for personal gain. No bathroom, no bedrooms, no nudes. And you can't share. And with it being the girls in the courthouse that Dave was dating, that one judges, and those other girls he was taking out, and they're bragging that they're all sleeping together. Yeah, and they're dating and this, and we're going to steal everything you have in life. It's an extortion group instead of, my God, help this woman. You know, during the police investigation, I was talking to Dave, and he's like, Karen, you're good to the kids, you're good to the grandkids, you always have been. I'd be pretty, another part, he'd be pretty rotten she ever said anything about you, and he called her childish. You're good to everyone, no matter who it is. I almost died to save them and trying to keep him out so they got caught, and they got caught, and they let the bastard go. He can't go to jail for nothing up there. They protect him. I even reported it. They didn't want to do a thing with him. There's real videos. It makes them responsible. They don't think the FBI will crack them. They're very, very wrong. Because there's a real state investigation with real tapes. A Massillon police officer came in, stat care in Massillon on Wales Road, last month when I took my client in there. He came in laughing. He said, I'm supposed to watch her because there's a Steve and Eric Strock here. And he said it finally got funny after everything they did to her. Nothing's admissible. It's not. Local officer in Louisville said a government official was worried about me. Can't come talk to me. He said, don't you worry about one thing before you call the FBI. They had no right in your home. And they would have excused themselves for everything for those girls. It's not admissible. It's all altered, drugged, photoshopped. 2 guys walked by my apartment within the last 2 weeks. Will you erase my part out? I didn't think about what we did to her before. Yeah, I'll erase you out. They're still altering you. Some guy said we are in the dark too. We already knew she was a victim of a cult trying to have her murdered and drugged before. And these rogue undercover officers that Judge Pete for his whore in the store of Ravenna. Some guy was down here last month. He said, there's a lot more going on down here than fuck you, Judge Daughter. There is, and there's an extortion ring run out of Portage County with the judges and the undercover police. I reported the Portage County sheriffs for not arresting Dave to the mayor's office. We have a problem with the Portage County sheriffs not arresting violent offenders. They're part of it. Why wouldn't you arrest violent offenders? You would. And them thinking they're going to get their victim where they're bragging in Walmart. Even June 23rd, I buy paint. It's either that day or within a few weeks, right before or after I buy paint. 2 investigators following me around. Oh my goodness. The investigator said, what are these people talking about? We interviewed her whole family a long time ago. Okay? She never hurt anyone. Well, they even told me in 19 they found Melissa's kids lying and that my family had spoke highly of me. Okay? They told me that in 19. They came up and said something, walked off. Well, those guys that have been following me around, that we interviewed her whole family a long time ago, and uh, she never heard anyone. What are these people talking about? Here. Okay. Um, and then by the paint aisle, there's a group of girls. Oh my goodness, the boys had to drug her and tell it to make her say all that stuff. No one mentions those tapes. Idiots would come up to me, even in Walmart and other stores. You said this. You said I'm like, who the hell are you? And I wouldn't have said that. You lie like crazy underneath a lot of those drugs. Like, Mike telling everybody was an ass or not. Let's see. There was a white man with black hair, dark eyes, 50-ish baseball hat, sits down in an optical center, either 62 Walmart or Walmart Maslin, um, before April of 19. It's me and my men that question you at night. That's why you have bruises. He showed up at Louisville in May of 19 at the McDonald's break-in with some of the men act like he raped me, talking dirty about me. None of this is funny. I have been violated on every level, and they're still coming at me. Well, we drugged you and told you to say something stupid. We get money, right? You go to jail for it, right? And I don't know these people. But they did it in tape and audio in stores where you can still get them. It's not funny. And then witnesses coming forward. On Christmas Eve, there was a light brown bearded guy in brown hair. I could see it in the dark, telling that lady where she had talked to some guy before about Dave drugging me. Said Karen's will doesn't want you to say anything. What's going on down here? She's like, too bad. I already talked to someone. He don't want you to say it again. Tell. You know how you stop mob lords? You tell. And everybody tells on them. You know why? Because it stops you from being a victim next. Now I need this chip out. It's a very real. There's real cases. You can watch them abduct me. You can watch them state that they're blaming the FBI for this. You can watch someone even admit that they knew, the Dr. Alan Atinas knew that they did it when the guy leaves my room. There's tape and audio everywhere. Mercy Medical, you can see they cut the wires to crack. And like I said, even a Canton officer walked by me, his phone dinged, and he read off my information. I do need it removed, and I do not have money to do it, and there is a law called Justice for Victims of Torture or Terrorism Act. If any government official hurts you, they have to make it right. More likely it's that Judge Pete, the rogue officers up there that are doing all of this, because they're leaving Judge Pete's name everywhere, and then that Steve, Eric, Kurt, Chris, and Mark that work for that occult and that wicked judge. 5 judges tried to destroy 41 lives, had them raped and framed, and they went to jail for 6 to 20 years. I do need someone to help. I mean, they were swarming my client's new building, where we just moved, driving by. It's horrifying what they're doing to me on ungodly levels. Ungodly levels. You know, on the way home tonight, I played the song Proud to be American, or at least I know I'm free. And a lot of people scattered. They forget the freedoms that are endowed over us, that Nazi Germany cannot set up within our country, and the police and wicked judges cannot destroy lives, and evil occults cannot be mixed in with them, and wicked attorneys, they cannot do this. They can only tape you out in public. They can't hire people to follow you around. They can only hire like one investigator. And what would you investigate? Melissa lied and a Maslin police will tell you they lied and that my whole family was interviewed and they spoke highly of me. And 18, they were even laughing, two women that watched me at different times. I was just in Maslin Walgreens getting him a shot. And they came in laughing. Her family really did speak highly of her. They did back in 18 when I was with Dave. Formal statements. They better. I almost died to save him and trying to get him caught. And these people are trying to make a buck and get me in trouble for their crimes. It's that ridiculous. I pulled in the Stark County Sheriffs because they're driving around saying stuff to me. And a sheriff pulls up and said, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No." And I told him, I said, "See some of those cars." I said, "I've been emailing you about it." And I gave him my CCW because the one Tuscarora sheriff's like, "Karen, what have you been up to?" And the other guys tell him not to talk to me. And he said, "We'll back out of this screen." The officer in Louisville said it's a protection order. So I was telling him about it, and then it's Judge Pete. He said, "This is a weird, odd, big case." He said, "Are you sure it's Judge Pete?" I said, "It's for that Michelle, his daughter, his mother bragged. Her mother bragged Memorial Day weekend 2019 at the food counter." I said, "You can call the Maslin police. There's real cases." And then I told him about being drugged, and nobody ever questioned me about anything dirty. I only told the FBI agent I was scared, and the Canton branch, and his secretary seen the guy, and Dave had a list. And then I told him about almost getting shot driving. I even told him about being raped and tortured, and that Faith Family Church would know who he is, and I described him. He said, and I said, "They're leaving that Judge Pete's name around." And I said, "It's supposed to be for his daughter, Michelle. Even my daughter-in-law, Dixie, knew Michelle." And I said, "Maslin police have the login." And I said there were several other girls involved in the courthouse. I said, I told him I talked to the officer in Louisville, and he said that's the best person to talk to with his connections. He said, "But I'll tell you what, I'll look into it for you." He said, "It's been going to the detectives." He said, "It's such an odd, weird." He said, "It's Judge Pete." I said, "And his goons from Ravenna down here follow me around doing this. And they're the ones that did it to me up there." What happened to Will? And what happened to all the promises? Because, the only thing that was supposed to happen when I told is just they went away. But then I still have my life of peace, accused of no wrongdoing. Nothing legally stated, dated against me again, and always pull back to that traffic ticket. And only for me, they'll put it back as if it never happened. I can't be charged for anything again. That's what they do for all informants. You witness on somebody really bad, you can't be charged for anything again. They take really bad drug people that witness on drug lords, and they wipe everything out. It's a better deal. And they don't let them charge them for anything ever again. And it's just what the government does. But what happened to Will? Seriously, and if I would have remembered to tell that the guy told the night before, I even thought about it the other day. What if that wasn't an FBI agent? What if that was a rogue undercover officer? Huh? But had a pretend FBI badge and full payment. Because Will wouldn't ask me to stay quiet. Because they were illegal surveillance in me. I thought of that one too. I even thought about the gunshot night. What if that was the meanest dot in the world and nobody died? And that Asian lady lied to people. And I have a big heart. And I tried to get her help. And they tortured me because I was going to tell on them. Wouldn't that be even sicker? And then put it on the internet, a real rape and torture for trying to help somebody? Wouldn't that even be sicker? I told you where to find the Asian lady. October 5th. Macy's men's clothes counter. She leans into older Asian couple. I don't want anybody to say anything to her anymore because she's trying to get us out, but I tried at 19 and they tortured me. And I told you that idiot followed me to Macy's and to Faith Family Church and threatened to arrest me in front of Faith Family Church, and he told everybody he was an agent. And he was white, bald, with real dark eyes, 6 foot, about 200 pounds. And he had followed me around for a while, and he drove a dark gray truck. And the guy usher in my church had black hair, a young guy, and he he yelled at him in front of 1,000 people. What you did was considered rape. You leave her alone. And started yelling about Dave and everything else. Wouldn't it be worse? I mean, already feel bad. Thought her husband died that night, and they got caught on a real police investigation that they killed people. But just think, what if they didn't die? And it was a mean stunt, and she was lying to people to get people to come after me. I deserve to know what happened on that gunshot night. And I wonder if that guy, they keep saying he was an agent. What if he was just a dirty undercover officer from Ravenna? I thought of that one too. I was sitting outside my new client's house, or not new apartment, but his old apartment on Cleveland Avenue, and this heavy-set guy with black hair and a beard pulled up, and he's on the phone. He said, I didn't believe her before, and I found out everything that happened to her. I feel horrible. He pulls around, and he's still on the phone. He looks over at me and said, I won't say anything to her. And he pulled off. Who was he? And then I was in Macy's this last month. Some older African American man with his wife. He said, I feel bad. I didn't believe her before either. And I found out what happened. They said they found one guy pretending he was an FBI agent. I didn't talk to these people. I ignored them. Besides, excuse me and thank you for opening a door. If you don't have a badge, you are nobody. If you don't show me a badge, you are nobody. My brother-in-law had a special wallet that he opened, and he would close it real quick. It fell on the floor, and he grabbed it. You could see the government symbol. And he closed it real quick. You don't have a badge. You're a nobody. But I just wonder if how much is this just been undercover police from Ravenna and Judge Pete and his goons pretending to be FBI. But I'll tell you what, Faith Family Church didn't know who raped me. Just ask the ushers, they sold a locket. Being tortured and smothered and drugged and beat till I said what they wanted. And before that, I had bruises and men coming up and saying stuff to me. It was crazy. And then sometimes they'd even say, you said this. And it wasn't true. And what they were saying wasn't true. And then I had to prove it wasn't true by getting a witness. They just come up and say crazy stuff to me.
I need somebody to help me and help me soon. I need the chip out. The hospital said your brain will go back to normal. You remove the chip, your brain will go back to normal. I need help. And I'm not joking. And it's not funny. Nobody's stepping forward and helping a victim. If you're not going to help a victim, why are you law enforcement? Because then you become part of the problem. I mean, seriously, there's witnesses, there's doctors, there's hospitals, and then there's more and more and more witnesses. You know, it's not funny what happened. Levels of Satanism, of what is possessed these people.